The cameras flashed. The crowd froze. A whisper ripples through the room before you can even reach the exit.
Oh, it gives me chills just thinking about it.
Right, like I want you to imagine, just for a moment, having your most disastrous, complicated, totally private life choices broadcast to the entire globe. We are talking about a level of exposure where you walk into a grocery store or a restaurant and you know unequivocally that every single person looking at you has read the absolute worst thing you have ever done.
It is a staggering psychological burden. I mean, most people are afforded the luxury of untangling their personal failures in private. You make a mistake, you face the people you hurt, and you navigate the fallout within the closed ecosystem.
Exactly, behind closed doors.
Right. But when the global media apparatus gets involved, your private crisis is basically stripped of its humanity. It gets repackaged as public entertainment.
And no headline dominated that machinery quite like this one, how she got pregnant during the affair. Welcome to StarScope Report. Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today, we really are diving deep. We are looking at the intensely scrutinized relationship timeline of Simon Cowell and Lauren Silverman.
Yes, and we have gathered a fascinating stack of sources for this deep dive. We've got archival legal breakdowns from the Charlotte Divorce Lawyer blog, Simon's early damage control interviews with Fox News, and Lauren's highly revealing 2026 appearance on Giovanna Fletcher's Happy Mom podcast.
Plus her feature in the Daily Mail and the new Netflix documentary, Simon Cowell, The Next Act. Our mission today is to move entirely past the sensational gossip.
Totally. We are going to deconstruct the actual anatomy of a massive public scandal. We want to examine the strategic legal maneuvers deployed to resolve it and analyze the deliberate, decade-long PR strategies both individuals use to rebuild their identities.
Because the surface-level narrative is rarely the actual story. Society has this insatiable appetite for the downfall of high-profile figures. But the mechanics of how a family survives that intense public scrutiny, how they navigate the legal leverage used against them, that offers a profound look at crisis management.
That is the exact lens we want you to use as you listen today. How much of a scandal is raw emotion and how much is calculated strategy?
Oh, it is heavily calculated.
Right. And later in this deep dive, we are going to break down a specific legal mechanism from the 2013 divorce that essentially placed a literal financial price tag on human betrayal. It is a stunning collision of family law and corporate-level negotiation.
It really is. But to understand how we got there, we have to look at the environment that incubated the scandal first.
Good point. So if you follow pop culture, you likely know the inciting incident. Lauren and Simon met in 2004 at the Sandy Lane Resort in Barbados, and she was married to real estate mogul Andrew Silverman at the time.
Who, importantly, was part of Simon's inner circle. The environment is crucial here. You have extreme wealth, geographic proximity, and a pre-existing friendship. For nearly a decade, Simon and Lauren orbited each other within this highly insulated elite social tier.
Wow, a decade. That is a long time to be orbiting.
Yeah, it was this prolonged, quiet tension. Simon maintained his public persona as television's ultimate bachelor, dating, getting engaged, while Lauren remained embedded in her marriage.
Which makes the 2013 flashpoint so significant. The affair did not slowly leak through a publicist or like a blurry paparazzi photo. It was forced into the light by biological reality. Lauren became pregnant.
The secrecy physically expired.
Exactly. And the media reaction was immediate and absolutely relentless. In her June 2026 interview on the Happy Mom podcast, Lauren provided a very rare look at what that felt like from the inside. She described the scrutiny as feeling like she was walking around with an inescapable scarlet letter.
The scarlet letter comparison is incredibly precise from a sociological standpoint.
How so?
Well, the infrastructure of celebrity media is fundamentally designed to amplify moral outrage, particularly toward women in proximity to powerful men. Simon Cowell is an architect of global pop culture, right? His primary asset is his brand.
Right, the tough guy judge persona.
Exactly. So when the news broke, Lauren wasn't simply managing the dissolution of her marriage and a surprise pregnancy. She was forced to absorb the collateral damage of Simon's massive fame. Millions of strangers were simultaneously judging her character.
Let me stop you there, because this is where the mechanics of power really come into play. When a crisis of this magnitude hits an average person, they panic.
Oh, complete panic.
But high net worth individuals, they have fixers, they have aggressive legal teams and PR strategists. So what is the actual legal machinery doing while the tabloids are printing those scarlet letter headlines.
They are mobilizing for war, specifically through the weaponization of the public record.
Ooh, the public record. Tell me about that.
When the affair became public, Andrew Silverman did not pursue a standard no-fault divorce, which is, by the way, the overwhelmingly preferred route for the ultra-wealthy.
Because it keeps things quiet, right?
Exactly. A no-fault divorce keeps the financial disclosures and the emotional wreckage sealed, but instead, Andrew filed an at-fault divorce, citing adultery as the specific cause.
Wow.
And furthermore, he took the highly unusual step of officially naming Simon Cowell as a co-respondent in the petition.
Wait, I have to challenge that strategy based on our source material because the filings and statements from Andrew's side repeatedly emphasize that his primary goal was protecting his young son, Adam.
Right, that was the stated goal.
But if shielding your child is the ultimate objective, how does dragging his mother into a highly public at-fault divorce achieve that? Doesn't that just guarantee a permanent, searchable Google record of his family's trauma? It seems entirely counterproductive to privacy.
That is the exact paradox of high-stakes legal leverage. It is essentially mutually assured destruction.
Aw.
Yeah, by filing an at-fault divorce and naming Simon, Andrew wasn't just expressing anger. He was holding a match over Simon's multi-million-dollar public image. If the divorce went to trial, the discovery process would have been catastrophic.
Because everything becomes public.
Everything. We're talking about subpoenas for Simon's private texts, emails, financial records, and sworn depositions regarding the timeline of the affair. Andrew was creating a scenario that was so publicly toxic it forced Lauren and Simon to the negotiating table instantly.
So he basically used the threat of permanent reputational damage to bypass years of litigation.
Precisely.
That is wild. And the Charlotte Divorce Lawyer blog actually breaks down the financial reality of that leverage, and it is staggering. According to their analysis of the Silverman estate and the 10-year marriage, a standard settlement would have likely awarded Lauren upwards of $4 million.
Which is a massive sum.
Right. But because Andrew utilized this pressure cooker strategy, Lauren settled incredibly fast for less than $2 million. In exchange for conceding millions of dollars, Andrew agreed to drop Simon's name from the official divorce papers,
effectively halting the discovery process. The affair carried a literal, quantifiable cost.
It's just so transactional.
It is. The legal system in these scenarios does not care about broken hearts. It cares about risk mitigation. Andrew identified Simon's vulnerability, which was the media circus, and monetized it to protect his own assets.
And that's not even the wildest part, because the financial concession wasn't even the most aggressive mechanism in that settlement.
Not by a long shot.
There was a specific stipulation that fundamentally altered how this new family could operate. The settlement included a strict penalty regarding Andrew and Lauren's son, Adam. If Simon Cowell came anywhere near Adam, he would be hit with a $50,000 penalty.
It is a fascinating application of family law. It basically establishes a geographical and financial boundary to enforce an emotional boundary.
The mechanics of that are just chilling to me. Like, imagine the visceral, chaotic reality of a broken home. You are dealing with grief, anger, betrayal, and the legal system steps in and distills all of that raw, messy human emotion into a $50,000 invisible fence.
It's surreal when you put it like that.
I really want you, the listener, to pause and consider what it would feel like to have a literal price tag placed on who is legally allowed to stand in the same room as your child. It perfectly illustrates how inadequate the law is at managing human relationships.
Yet it is the only tool available to enforce order in the middle of chaos. That boundary forces a very rigid artificial structure onto a family dynamic.
Because Andrew was exerting control where he still had power.
Exactly. But artificial structures eventually collide with biological realities. The legal maneuvering stops the bleeding, but it does not dictate the future. Which leads us to February 14th, 2014.
Oh, Valentine's Day.
Yes, when Simon and Lauren's son Eric is born.
Real quick, if you are loving these Hollywood twists and deep dives into the mechanics of fame, make sure you are subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead. But getting back to 2014, now the affair isn't just a tabloid headline or a line item in a divorce settlement. It is a human being.
It is a profound shift.
The arrival of Eric completely shifts the narrative from the adrenaline of a scandal to the sobering permanence of consequences. We see this transition very clearly in Simon's archival interview with Fox News shortly after.
He was remarkably blunt in that interview, wasn't he?
Very blunt. He stated he was not proud of the circumstances and regretted the pain it caused. But his overarching philosophy was captured in one phrase. He said, you look at the baby and you kind of go, this is what happened from it. You have to deal with it and man up to it.
Man up to it. That is a revealing choice of words.
What do you mean?
It signals the end of the evasion phase. Simon is acknowledging that the crisis has materialized into a permanent responsibility. But the transition into that responsibility was not seamless. I mean, this is a man whose entire professional identity is built on absolute control.
Oh, 100%. He is the ultimate arbiter on television, sitting behind a desk, deciding the fates of others.
And suddenly, he is thrust into the chaos of infancy.
He actually confessed that for the first 8 or 9 months of Eric's life, he genuinely believed the baby didn't like him.
That is incredible.
It is a highly relatable, almost comical admission from an intimidating media mogul. But it highlights how deeply unmoored he was. He was navigating a monumental identity shift while the entire world watched.
And while Simon was publicly grappling with fatherhood, Lauren deployed a completely different and arguably more powerful crisis management strategy: absolute silence.
The silence is fascinating to me.
For 12 years, Lauren Silverman practically vanished from the public commentary sphere. To understand how radical that is, you really have to look at the modern crisis playbook.
Right, because today, when a public figure faces backlash, the immediate instinct is to control the narrative.
Exactly. We see the Notes app apologies, the exclusive sit-down interviews, the strategic documentary series designed to explain their side of the story. Lauren rejected all of that.
Why do you think she chose that route? Doesn't silence leave a vacuum for the tabloids to fill with whatever narrative they want?
Initially, yes, but over a prolonged period, silence is an incredibly effective strategy for starving a media cycle. Tabloids run on friction and reaction. If you refuse to provide new emotional data, the algorithm eventually loses interest.
It just moves on to the next crisis.
Exactly. By choosing not to defend herself publicly, Lauren reclaimed her energy to do the actual unglamorous work of repairing her private life. She recently described the divorce as very difficult, but over that decade of silence, she managed to build a highly functional, respectful, co-parenting relationship with Andrew and his new wife.
Which requires an immense suppression of ego. In that recent Happy Mom interview, she reflected on approaching her 50th birthday and stated she simply, quote, don't give a bleep anymore.
It's a hard-earned indifference.
It makes me think of the engineering required to build a structure in a seismic zone. When the 2013 scandal hit, it was a magnitude 9 earthquake. Most people try to stop the ground from shaking by fighting the press.
Which never works.
Never works. Lauren essentially engineered her life to absorb the kinetic energy. She stayed quiet, reinforced the foundation through co-parenting, and let the tremors pass.
That architectural analogy perfectly captures the timeline. The first few years were about surviving the initial collapse. The subsequent decade was about intentional reinforcement. And that long, quiet rebuilding phase is what makes the events of December 2021 so significant.
Oh, the proposal.
Yes. After 13 years together, Simon Cowell, a man who spent decades publicly expressing an absolute allergy to marriage, proposed to Lauren on Christmas Eve.
And the location is the ultimate full-circle moment. He proposed in Barbados at the exact resort where they originally met in 2004. But the context had entirely transformed.
Because the kids were there.
Right. Both of their children, Eric, who was 7, and Adam, who was 16, were present. It was an acknowledgement of the blended family they had painstakingly built. But wait till you hear what came next, because the detail in our source material that warrants the deepest analysis happened a few years later, in 2025.
You were referring to the Instagram name change.
Exactly. Before the wedding officially took place, Lauren proactively changed her surname on Instagram to Cowell. She followed it up with a remarkably assertive interview in the Daily Mail stating, look, I am Mrs. Cowell. I have created a life with Simon. We have a child together. We have a solid relationship.
It wasn't a question, it was a declaration.
Absolutely. So why do that before the ink is even dry on a marriage certificate?
To understand the mechanics of that decision, we have to view the surname not just as a romantic tradition, but as a sociological tool. In a blended family, a mother's last name often becomes a balancing act of loyalty.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
For years, Lauren intentionally retained the name Silverman. She did this to maintain continuity and a sense of belonging with her older son, Adam, during his formative years.
So she absorbed the public disconnect of not sharing a name with Simon or Eric.
Yes, strictly to protect Adam's psychological comfort.
Wow, that's a profound unseen sacrifice. Like, the public sees the tabloids, but they don't see a mother holding on to her ex-husband's name strictly as a shield for her teenager. So what changed in 2025?
Time changed the variables. Adam is now an adult in his 20s. He no longer requires that specific form of parental shielding. This granted Lauren the freedom to finally align her digital and legal identity with her younger son, Eric, and her partner.
She could finally just be Mrs. Cowell.
Right. By declaring I am Mrs. Cowell before the paperwork was even signed, she was using the surname to draw a definitive public circle around her current family unit.
It also functions as a brilliant digital rebrand. Think about the SEO implications. For over a decade, searching Lauren Silverman brought up endless articles about the 2013 affair, the divorce, the scandal.
The digital scarlet letter.
Exactly. By transitioning to Lauren Cowell, she is essentially burying that search history. She is forcing the digital algorithm to recognize her current reality rather than her past mistakes. It forces us. We'll use to overwrite history.
I mean, it is all of the above.
Yeah.
And that unified front is reflected in how they are approaching the wedding itself.
Yeah.
In the 2026 Netflix documentary, Simon Cowell, The Next Act, Lauren explicitly outlines their plans.
No massive spectacle, right?
None at all. No grand white dress. She described the upcoming wedding as kooky and unconventional and entirely low-key.
It makes complete sense. When the genesis of your relationship was the loudest, most invasive public spectacle imaginable, the ultimate luxury is a quiet, closed-door celebration. They have absolutely nothing left to prove to the public.
Which is the core takeaway of this entire timeline. Public opinion, no matter how deafening or vicious, is ultimately fleeting. The media infrastructure that profits off a scandal will inevitably abandon it for a newer, more profitable crisis.
You cannot PR your way out of a broken foundation.
True resilience is acknowledging the wreckage, enduring the uncomfortable legal and social consequences, and doing the quiet, unglamorous work of rebuilding over a decade. They didn't defeat the scandal in 2013, they simply outlasted it.
They outlasted it by doing the quiet work. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want you to reflect on the mechanics of resilience we've unpacked today. Think about your own life, your own missteps.
We all have them.
We do. And how much of our identity is permanently shaped by the worst mistakes we make versus the daily, incremental work we do to rebuild in the aftermath? The narrative surrounding Simon and Lauren proves that you do not have to be defined by your scarlet letter forever. You can absorb the tremors, reinforce the foundation, and eventually rewrite the headline.
The crisis is an event, but the rebuilding is an ongoing process.
It absolutely is. But before we go, stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Because I want to leave you with one final provocative thought based on the reality of our current digital landscape.
Oh, this is the big question.
It is. We have spent this deep dive analyzing how Simon and Lauren navigated the media storm, used legal leverage, and eventually changed their public identifiers to move forward. But what about Eric and Adam?
The kids.
In an era of digital permanence where the internet never forgets and a decade-old tabloid article is only a search away, how do the children of highly publicized scandals navigate that inherited history?
It's all just sitting there online.
Exactly. The paparazzi may have moved on from Simon and Lauren, but the digital archives remain open. As Eric and Adam step into their own adulthoods, how will they process a family legacy that was documented, judged, and commodified by the world before they were even old enough to understand it?
It is a question of generational digital footprint that we are only just beginning to understand.
Keep that in mind long after this deep dive ends. You've been listening to StarScope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.